the book is about bread. But it's also about God, and it's also about community, and it's also about life. All of which I think that bread is not just a wonderful metaphor, but one of the best metaphors. And so today for Pentecost, I'm going to actually read you a portion of a chapter of that book that I paraphrased and revised to make it a little bit shorter. Apologies, it is slightly longer than my normal sermons. Actually, I have way more stuff I want to say about it, but I have to get to it. So I love bread for all kinds of reasons, but there is one type of bread that makes me feel kind of giddy inside, and that's because of the deep memories that it stirs up and makes rise to the surface of my spirit. And it's a very simple bread, and it is a New England style hot dog bun. Bear with me. The connection to Pentecost will become clear. I promise. If you've read the book, I'm sorry, you know this story. New England style hot dog buns are the superior hot dog buns. They are flat on either side, and they can, and they really are supposed to be swiped with some softened butter, and then either toasted in a hot pan or thrown on a grill. So the edges get really crispy, like a good grilled cheese. Shatteringly a crisp bite when you bite into it, a soft roll, and then inside the soft roll is that salty, snappy hot dog. Or sweet chunks of cold lobster, lightly dressed with butter or mayonnaise. I'm actually will allow for both butter or mayonnaise with lobster rolls, or hot fried clams. You guys didn't laugh, which means you don't know all the rules about this. Anyway, any food is improved when it is put into a properly prepared New England style hot dog bun. Even leftovers get upgraded in this particular kind of bun. Now, I had not known any other kind of way to eat a hot dog or any other kind of hot dog bun until my family moved from New Hampshire to California the summer before I started 5th grade. We traversed the entire country by car, and the whole week-long adventure opened my eyes to a boundless array of landscapes and cuisines and culture across the United States. But arriving in our new home just outside of Sacramento, my mother and my sister and I experienced culture shock when we discovered that the rest of the country ate hot dogs in inferior buns. Maybe you know. So these are the buns you usually know. They're rounded on the side, they are unfit for grilling, they are flimsy, and you're supposed to eat them right out of the bag. So there was an expensive long-distance phone call made. Remember those? Some of you? And within a few days, a really large box, it was a former computer box, arrived on our doorstep, and the return address said Melrose, Massachusetts. That's where my grandparents lived. My grandmother had packed the box with at least 6, 7, 8 bags of a dozen hot dog buns. So, more than 75 buns to last us for a while. But flung 3,000 miles from the place that my mother and sister and I even still called home, those hot dog buns were a lifeline. The supposed origin story of this inimitable bun is that Howard Johnson's, the Massachusetts-based restaurant and motel chain, approached a bakery in Maine in the 1940s with an assignment. They needed a roll that would stand upright when filling fried clams that the chain served to summer beachgoers. So, you're on a cooking line, and you got to fill those buns with fried clams. Like so many food traditions, this origin story is rooted in place. Fried clams are ubiquitous along the New England seacoast. They were, at one time at least, inexpensive, and fried not only because that makes them delicious, but it increases the amount of time that they can be out of the brackish water of the sea before they start to go bad. Of course, if you throw them between bread, you've got a whole meal, and you can sell it and serve to vacationers and make a little money. Can you just see the white aproned waiters slinging armloads of clam rolls to families with freckled noses, sunburned shoulders, the good memories of summers spent on the Atlantic Ocean etched into their minds with each bite into those buttery rolls. Who wouldn't want to vacation on a New England seacoast? Haven't you seen a Winsor Homer painting? The rocky shoreline is even better in person under a hot summer sun. That these buns are identified as hot dog buns and not fried clam buns is another new detail in their story that points to place. In this case, not just a region, but a country, and one with a long history of immigration. Hot dogs are sausages that likely arrived in the U.S. with German immigrants in the 19th century. And it's thanks to the bun in which they could be sold at public events, such as baseball games, a beloved source of American entertainment in the 20th century, early 20th century, and now, that their popularity exploded. They were cheap for sellers, cheap to buyers, easy to handle, and of course, really delicious to eat. In Hot Dog, A Global History, a real book that I read, the author writes, heavy immigration from Europe, the rise of truly large urban centers, new mass entertainments, enhanced information technologies, all combined to create a much desired new national identity, the legendary American melting pot. So enter the sausage plus bun combo, an unintended homage to a place that becomes synonymous with it. It becomes so much so that it's required eating on both Memorial Day and Independence Days, American holidays. And although no one seems to remember to actually name the bun when we talk about hot dogs, we say hot dogs are American food. What we mean is hot dogs in a bun. Every illustration, photo, or graphic of one makes it clear that they're inseparable. Frankly, sorry. New Englanders just had the right idea for what kind of bun to tuck their dogs into. Place and identity, whether national or familial or personal, are all connected. Because as people, we are embodied. We are made of stuff. We are sinew, and we are bones, and we are breath, and we are blood. And all that stuff needs a place to be, a place to exist. Landscapes affect how we are, and therefore they shape who we are. But place is always more than land. It is also of the communities, it is also about the communities that inhabit the land, the people whose identity is shaped by place, and the people who then shape the place in return. It is this unique relationship. And identity is both where and how we uncover our lives' meanings. Knowing the places from where we come can tell us why we are who we are, and who we are now, and can offer hints about where we are going. People claim to hate identity politics, but I don't think there's any other kind. Politics are all about people, and people crave meaning and identity. The problem with identity politics is when we become so attached to them, or to any identity, or to anything that we claim gives meaning to us, that we fail to see that all identities have blurry edges. Too often it's religious identity that is to blame for the borders that we create in our own lives, whether political or spiritual. An irony, especially for Christians who like to say that an event described in the biblical book of Acts, Pentecost, is the church's birthday. This is where I start to get into why I talk about hot dogs. Now there were devout Jews from every people under heaven living in Jerusalem, writes the author of Acts. As with many gatherings and festivals, the original reason for their togetherness had to do with the harvest. And in this case, Jews from all over had gathered to offer thanks to God for the first fruits of the wheat harvest. Bread and wheat. Well, the Holy Spirit, sent by God, soon following the return of the risen Christ to heaven, started blowing through and stirring up and just doing her thing. You might even say, blurring all the edges of everyone's identity. And suddenly they could all understand each other, even though they spoke in the languages of the places from which they'd hailed. A people of distinct identities, expressed in language but also in custom clothing and practice, and probably also food, could not deny the existence of one another, nor claim that their identity should supersede all others, all thanks to the presence of God's Spirit so near that it burned, as if they had been touched by the tongues of holy fire. They could actually understand each other. Now, the Pentecost story does not speak of a melting pot, or even of a forging of a new identity for a group. Rather, it acknowledges that we are the people of places. The church are a people of places. And the gift of this story, I think, is that place-specific artifacts, specifically language, are not erased for the sake of unity. Instead, they are transformed from barrier into intelligible gift. Now, culinary preferences, even preferences for hot dog buns, can be the same. Markers of place-moored identity that can be gift, that can be grace, rather than barrier. All that said, I'm not willing to give up my New England-style hot dog bun evangelism just yet. You can find them on Amazon, but it's way overpriced. Call me up and I'll give you a recipe. Evangel means good news, after all, and there are plenty who have yet to hear and experience the wonder of a straight-sided roll. Happy Pentecost.